Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to class. As usual, when you sign in, remember to write your name in the chat box, and we'll be giving 5 minutes for everyone else to join. So please get your teammates and get your party members to join. Class is about to start. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to class. Our 5 minutes has elapsed, so it's time for class. And to take us further, we have our ED that will be taking us on the legislative. So for those who are not familiar with ED's profile, so I'm just going to go through it before he comes up. Kule Lawal is an entrepreneur, idea generator, politician, TEDx speaker, and patriot. He has a keen eye for opportunities based on his experience in politics, working with non-governmental organizations and the federal government. He's passionate about Nigeria and is what we call the term a detribalized Nigerian. He considers his boundaries to be limitless and is really focused on changing the Nigerian narrative in political participation. He currently serves as the executive director of the Electoral College Nigeria. Kule Lawal was a once acting national publicity secretary of COA Party, and in his time, they built 6 state structures and developed the e-membership system, which fetched him an e-membership card in 2 minutes. and conducted the only e-election in the political party ratified by INEC, FCT Alliance for New Nigeria Senatorial Candidate 2019. And apart from having a phenomenal race, ran for 49 pieces of legislation, which he hoped to use when he won, has since transitioned to a non-partisan influential player in politics and electoral matters in Nigeria. As an electoral college, Nigeria, which he founded as Africa's first school of literacy and governance, he has trained over 10,000 Nigerians for free on a 28-course model, spanning politics and governance, has worked on interventions for the Electoral Act 2022 and a few other legislation. Khalil Lawal is one of the most televised Nigerians and key to issues of national discourse and more so explanation on legislation, governance, and politics. So, ladies and gentlemen, our ED is taking us on the ride on the legislative. Mr. Khalil Lawal, welcome, sir.
Good day, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here as usual. Pleasure to be with the 13th cohort. I noticed class is a little scanty today. Is it because it's Friday? Most especially, I think I'm going to hold Lisa liable for giving me a class when such a crucial match is about to start between Nigeria and Angola. So on behalf of every Nigerian, I wish us all good luck with that. So the legislative, of course, and the legislative is, I need to introduce the basic fundamental of democracy is built on the legislative. So I'll tell a little story on the history of the legislative. Democracy actually started somewhere in ancient Greece, and the basic foundation for it was people coming together and, people representing a particular street or a particular neighborhood, and they would have conversations on how to better the society. So this was how the legislative part in a democracy was born. And the legislature is actually key to everything democratic. In Nigeria, we have different forms of the legislative. We would like to start at the National Assembly, which of course has two houses, which is the Senate and the House of Representatives. They are federal parts. Now, at the state level, we have State House of Assembly performing as the legislative. And finally, at local government level, we have councillors performing at legislative level. Now, this will be a walkthrough of the legislative. The greatest example will be found in the National Assembly, and today we will be using the National Assembly as a focal point to describe what happens in states, should happen in states, and should happen in local governments. Not that this is the key. So most of us kind of look at them from an executive standpoint. It would be critical to note at this point that constituency projects are not constitutional. There's no place for it. They're not found in the Constitution, so it's an anomaly. Everywhere across the world, you don't see legislators with executive functions, but that's another conversation down the road. Anyway, we proceed into the first slide. So, of course, the introduction will be the National Assembly is Nigeria's federal legislative arm of government. One can rightfully say that the sovereignty of people resides in the legislature. And that is because these are people who actually represent you. They are not there because, of course, they ask for your votes and then they execute their duties how they choose to execute it. That's the executive. And in the legislature are there to represent you. An ideal legislature must be in constant communication with the people he or she represents. And that is the basis of legislature. It is a conversational thing, meaning the people have a conversation or a standpoint, and then this is now transferred to the seat where it is, or the platform where it is argued out, and could help or better the life of citizens of a particular geographical boundary. Now, excuse me, I know that a lot of people are always confused on what exactly the legislature is, because here's the thing. You're told there to do this. In Nigeria, I've always stated there's a culture of what is being practiced, not necessarily what the book says or what the constitution says. And a lot of us have gotten drunk in that culture that we don't even look at what's right, we don't look for what's right, and we don't try to do what is right. So there are basic things most people know about the National Assembly, and that's of course is made of two chambers, Senate and the House of Rep. There are 109 elected members in the Senate and 360 in the House. However, the National Assembly is much more than that, and this presentation tries to explain the facets, functions of this great institution, which is fundamental to a democracy. Now, the National Assembly. The National Assembly is established under Section 4 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Now, how many people have looked at the Constitution? We gave it out, I think, during the other class. Did anybody look at it? You could just say it in the chat box if you did or not. So it is vested with powers to make laws for peace, order, and good governance of the Federation with respect to matters on the exclusive legislative list. Now, some of these items on this list include arms, aviation, currency, drugs and poisons, mines and minerals, passports and visas, posts, telegraphs and telephones, prisons, railway, ammunition and explosives, bankruptcy, banks, citizenship, copyright, patents and trademarks, creation of states, custom and excise duties. Customs and excise duties, defense and military, immigration, insurance, labor, trade, or business names. The powers of the National Assembly and the privileges and immunities of its members, regulation of political parties, all under the exclusive legislative list, which are under the auspices of the legislature. And Dominic raised his hand just now. Charlie, are you there? Charlie, Lisa, are you there? Or Maureen, could you unmute? I don't know what you wanted to say.
His hands are down.
You said?
No, I said he has dropped his hand.
Okay, maybe it was a mistake. So those are the things under the exclusive legislative list. Now we'll move over to the posts available within or the structure of the National Assembly. Now, the structure of the National Assembly has the Senate President, or that's for the Senate, and then in the House of Rep, you have the Speaker. You have the Deputy Senate President, and of course, you have the Deputy Speaker. There is always a Majority Leader, a Deputy Majority Leader, Chief Whip, Deputy Whip, Minority Leader, Deputy Minority Leader, Minority Whip, Deputy Minority Whip. Now, the President of the Senate or the Speaker is the presiding office in the Senate or in the House of Assembly. But this, of course, the President of the Senate is also the Chairman of the National Assembly. The Deputy Senate President and the Deputy Speaker, of course, carries out functions of the Senate President or the Speaker in his or her absence. Out by the Deputy Senate President or Deputy Speaker. For instance, the Deputy Senate President, he or she chairs the Constitution Review Committee of the Senate. Now, the Majority Leader is leader of the House elected by members of the majority party. His or her role includes serving as spokesperson for the majority, leading the business of the House, managing legislative schedule, and liaising with various committee chairpersons to ensure that of course things that the majority party wants in play are in play. Now, the chief whip is elected to maintain order and decorum of the House and also discipline members of the majority party or of the party generally. That's chief whip, everybody has. Now, the minority leader is elected by members of the minority party, and his or her role is to represent their interests and maintain discipline within them. So the House is not supposed to be as chaotic as we see it, but once in a while, of course, it is necessary. Now, of course, the National Assembly always has what we call a plenary. Now, National Assembly conducts most of its legislative business through daily sittings or plenary sessions and committee meetings. National Assembly plenary sessions are stipulated in Section 63 of the Constitution, which adequately provides that the life of the National Assembly is 4 years. Plenary session refers to the day, period, or time in which the legislature formally assembles for the purpose of lawmaking. A session must consist of not less than 181 days within a legislative year. I remember, was it sometime in 2021, 2022? The National Assembly didn't meet the number of days according to the Constitution. I think it was 20, I can't remember, 2021 or 2022. Now, sittings are meetings or hearing periods of which the Legislative Assembly, within a session or legislative year, there is no constitutional provision for daily sittings. Therefore, it is up to each house to decide what works best for it. Previous assemblies since 1999 have observed Tuesday and Thursday as sitting days. Now, recess time, which they take a break, refers to longer breaks of the House at the end of the session. This is distinct from the usual adjournment that occurs after a plenary sitting. So normally, at the end of the legislative day, it's adjourned. Let's say today is Tuesday, it's adjourned till Thursday. It's never closed, adjourned. So it's continuous. Now, if they're going on recess, it's a total adjourned. It's adjourned, and it stops till the day of recess. Now, the powers. Legislators enjoy certain powers, privileges, and immunities. Legislative powers can be defined as the constitutional powers bestowed on the legislative arm of government, and these powers could be expressed, implied, or assumed. Express powers, as stated in the Constitution, include the power over public funds, the power to alter the Constitution, the power to ratify treaties made with other countries, and the power of oversight over the executive. I think these things are quite simple. There's no need for explanation. They're straight to the root. Now, note that the Constitution empowers the legislature to create rules regarding its internal affairs. This is the basis of existence of rules and standing orders that guide chamber proceedings in the Senate and House of Rep, respectively. Implied powers are ancillary to assist in carrying out the powers stated in the Constitution. Now, legislative communities. Now, in exercise, National Assembly often works within smaller units known as committees. I'm sure everybody has always heard oil committee, juicy committee, communications, juicy committee, or this one, juicy committee. Everybody's always trying to get into something or a committee that's interesting. Now, a committee is a unit within a legislative chamber that allows groups of legislators to review policies, propose bills, and report back to the chamber. One central theme is that committees are created for the purpose of satisfying the need for specialization and division of labor in lawmaking. Towards this end, most committees in the National Assembly are created in line with existing mandate of ministries, departments, and agencies of the government or in the government. The function of committees are spelled out in the Constitution and in the rules of each house. Some general functions of committees include initiation and consideration of bills, oversight on the executive, constituency representation. Now, standing committees. These are types of committees. We'll start with standing. And standing committees, which are permanent committees that the National Assembly in their that aid the National Assembly in their day-to-day functions. Examples include Committee on Rules and Business, and Committee on Appropriations. Special committees, which are permanent committees, that's another type of committee, special ones, which are permanent committees established by the rules of the House and Senate with clear terms of reference to perform specialized functions beyond that of standing committees. An example is the Committee on Selection, which selects and nominates members to the various standing committees. Ad hoc committee, which are committees created as a matter of urgency to deal with a pressing or specific issue. An example of the ad hoc committee is a review on the Nigerian Constitution. That's the ad hoc committee for the review on the Nigerian Constitution. Now, there's also we have a joint committee. Now, which are either a combination of two or similar committees from two chambers or from one chamber. The aim of the joint committee is to examine the subject matter, examine any subject matter that falls within their jurisdiction. There's also the committee of the whole. This happens when the entire membership of the chamber forms a committee that is chaired by its presiding officer to consider a bill or a matter of concern. Now, conference committees, this is a committee consisting of members of the Senate and House who converge with the aim of harmonizing differences on a bill that has been passed by both houses. Note, committees are powered by secretariats, which are headed by clerks and other committee staff. To further support their work and work of committees, legislators often hire personal staff and legislative aides to assist them. How they use these particular aides and staff is a topic for another day or another conversation. Now, the roles of the National Assembly: making laws pertaining to issues affecting public interest, representing the opinions and interests of citizens and the nation as a whole, and overseeing government, ministries, departments, and agencies. So we know of laws. I'll give an example: the Electoral Act, the Petroleum PIB Bill, representing the opinions and interests of citizens and the nation as a whole. There's been a little concern on security, and the National Assembly seems to be taking it personal. Summoned House, they've summoned people in charge of the military. Is it a little too late? A little has gone on that, but the opinion of the citizens are kind of heard. Kind of taking some time before that happens, but we're looking and hoping for the best, that at least the heads of security agencies will be quizzed on the security situation in Nigeria. Now, overseeing government ministries, we remember it was during one of these oversight on a government agency, and then the NDDC to be precise. The great conversation of off your mic was enacted. We watched it on live TV, and it was funny. So oversights have happened. There's been oversights on Wike, while in this thing handled by the chairperson of the Senate Committee on Abuja, which is always the FCT senator. I remember Senator Ereti Kingibe went all out on former Minister Nyesom Wike, and he was trying to defend the need to buy CNG buses and, put out his budget. I think Senator Ereti Kingibe was clear that the amount of money appropriated were a little too much for the FCT, and without specific clear-cut rules and etc. Now, the process. Now, the various stages. I'm sure everybody always bill. They're always talking about these things, and everybody's wondering, bill, how do we get from here to here? How do we get from A to B? So the various stages the bill passes through to become a law. Bills usually pass through the following stages: presentation and first reading, which is, of course, the first time it is being presented by the senator sponsoring the bill, or whoever is sponsoring the bill. But now, the thing with bills is that even a citizen can write a bill, you can write a bill, I can write a bill. It's just that the person to sponsor it must be a serving legislator. So this is also supposed to happen in your states, and this is also supposed to happen in your local governments with councillors. So just try to juxtapose what I'm doing with federal, state, and local government. So presentation and first reading. Second reading, of course, is where it gets read again, and people come up with their differences on it, and if some things need to be changed, it will be changed at this point. Now, once it goes to committee stage, it is being reviewed with existing laws, being reviewed also on how whether it would really make sense to, by the right committees. So there is now third reading and passage, and then finally the assent of the president. Let's also remember that when these two houses have passed a particular bill, it still has to be ratified by 36 state House of Assemblies in Nigeria before it can go to the president for assent. That to make the entire legislature of the country. So there's also what within their purview is also constitutional amendments. Now, if 2/3 of a chamber pass a bill without amendments or differences, it is transmitted to the state house. Oh, I didn't even know I was here for concurrence. If an amendment occurs at either of the chambers, a conference committee, remember the committees we discussed, will be set up to harmonize differences in the bill before sending it to the states for concurrence. Note that if both houses are not able to harmonize positions, the bill will be returned to the respective chambers for fresh voting. At the state assembly level, a simple majority vote of approval of each clause by 2/3 of the state is required for each amendment to come into effect. This is about 24 of Nigeria's 36 states. So you don't need to have the 36 states agreeing, you need 2/3 of them to agree. Now, following the concurrence from states, their report on the bill is forwarded to the National Assembly for adoption. Therefore, the clerk of the National Assembly sends a clean copy of the bill to the president for his assent. Now, the challenges which come also come while bills or challenges the National Assembly has. So the National Assembly has always struggled with the passage of bills timelessly, with crucial bills failing to pass before the end of the life of one assembly. Some of the contributing factors to the large number of pending bills in the National Assembly, apart from lack of political will to make legislation, include poor coordination and synergy level between the chambers, and that often leaves a bill passed in one chamber but not passed or concurred by the other chamber. Another issue would be, of course, poor understanding of the Constitution by people in the National Assembly. So it's normally a big problem. Now, oversight. Why do we have oversight functions for the legislative? Of course, to improve efficiency, economy, effectiveness of governmental operation, to detect and prevent poor administration, waste, and abuse, arbitrariness, or illegal, unconstitutional conduct, to ensure executive compliance with the law, to protect citizens' rights, to ensure that executive policies reflect public interest, to gather information to be used in informing or educating the public, and to evaluate execution and performance on the national budget. Now, challenges to passing bills. And National Assembly has often struggled with the passage of bills. Wait, I read this. Okay. Some of the contributing factors, seems this continued and I put one page before the other. I'm sorry. So challenges to bills passing still remain narrow content of bills, poor drafting, policy duplicity, inadequate or delayed legislative scrutiny. Most of the time, some of we know they don't even look at it. They just, so it could be quite a problem. Now, representation. Now, everybody always wonders, what exactly are these people to do, really? How are they to represent us? Now, if you notice, the first line is sponsoring bills on the floor of the House. Now, you have people that have served as senators or House of Rep for more than 14 years, and they've not put one thing on the table. They're just there for the A's and nays for the few times they attend. Now, if let's say give or take, and anybody could use a calculator for this, let's say give or take, these people take home 36 million. If I've served there 14 years, I don't think my math is wrong when I say I've been paid over $1 billion by Nigeria. And for what? Nothing. So sponsoring bills on the floor of the House is the primary function of any body in the National Assembly. Don't get it twisted. Don't allow them tell you something that's different. That is the truth. Most of them have not acted this. Most of them have not done this. Most of Nigeria is dysfunctional because it's not that we do not have laws. Our laws are archaic, and this is because they have not been amended by the people who are supposed to amend them. This inaction by the National Assembly has set Nigeria back more than 40 years in its democracy. And we're moving very slowly because of this poor issue of sponsoring bills. You can't sponsor bills if you haven't looked at the Constitution, because you need to find out what's not there. And you need to find out what you could put there that could make it better. But anyway, setting up a constituency office to facilitate public access. Now, I know people have constituency offices in Nigeria. Question is, are they ever there? So Nigeria is a funny country. I think we're one of the only countries that National Assembly lives in the capital. Because what's done is you come to the capital for sittings, plenary, and then you go back to where you're coming from to be with your constituents. That's what should naturally happen. But Nigeria in its over sensitivities has carried itself fully and gone to how would I put it? Gone to build houses for them in Abuja. They even have an estate. Wow. Anyway, representation, another thing it covers, it's also regular physical visits to constituencies. I think regular visits to London, I don't think people, it's very hard to see people in National Assembly that visit their constituencies, except it's almost time for election. Now, meeting with interest groups in order to stay engaged with various issues of concern. Now, I know they meet with a few interest groups, but not as we would want to see it, or not as it should be. That has always been a problem. That has always been a problem. And truth is, we need to do something about it. Anyway, now they need to meet with more interest groups, and they need to, have more access to people. That's the only way they will be able to have more access to bills. Funny, it even makes them look good when this happens. Now, next we'll be presenting petitions in the National Assembly on behalf of constituents to ensure that their grievances are addressed. I don't know. Has anybody interacted with their House of Rep or their senator? Has he pushed forward your grievances or your petition? This is a vital function of representation, and if it's not there, Nigeria spends so much time talking about the executive. The real problem in Nigeria is not the executive. If you whip up the legislative, the executive will fall in line. Our problem has always been in the legislative. But we move on. Seeking public consultations and input on a bill. They do that. Not fully openly, but they try. Well, there's a semblance of them trying to do that. Now, soliciting the opinions of constituents on certain legislative and policy issues. Yes, they do that. A little not done openly. Keeping in touch with community leaders, creating awareness and disseminating relevant information to constituents. They do that. Actively participating in the budget process. and ensuring that there is room for constituents to also participate through monitoring of local projects and actively engaging the media and civil society groups. They do that. Engage has different conversations, if you ask me. So sometimes the engagement could just be, we are doing this, and you end up arguing back and forth on what exactly they are doing and what they aren't doing or putting to play. Now, recall. Now, this is a part of, this is the whip that the citizens have against the people serving in legislative office. Now, I don't know why it's unable to have been done in Nigeria, but rather suffer and wait for 4 years. And I think if 5 can be recalled, everybody else will sit up in the National Assembly. So note that constituents feel that if constituents feel they are poorly represented or have lost confidence in the abilities of their legislators, they may recall them. So listen, a recall is a procedure where voters can remove an elected member of an area council, state house of assembly, or national assembly from office. Section 69 and 110 of the Constitution empowers more than one half of registered voters in the affected constituency to sign a petition and present it to the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, stating their grievances. When they say more than one half, is 50 plus 1, 50% plus 1. It's just plus 1. Just should be. So I'll give an example. If you want to remove a state house of assembly that is representing, give or take, let's use somewhere, Calabar, you need, and let's say 21,000 people participated in that election, the election that brought him in, 21,000 participated. It means that you need 11,501 persons to sign and submit. Now, following this, INEC will be required to conduct a referendum in that constituency within 90 days to decide legislators' fate. And however, before this, INEC must adhere to the following administrative checks. Ensure that the petition for recall is presented is signed and arranged according to polling units, wards, LGAs, and constituency. Cross-check the signatories that appear on the voters' register. Notify the member sought to be recalled, stating the receipt of the petition for his or her recall. Issue a public notice or announcement starting the date, time, and location of verification. Verify the signatories to the petition at the designated location. Where more than half, 50% plus 1, of the signatories are verified, the commission goes ahead to conduct a referendum. Now, a referendum is in a recall is a direct vote that determines a question for the purpose of removing an elected member of an area council, state, or national assembly. If this number verified is less than one half of the registered voters in that constituency, the commissioner shall write the petitioner stating that the petition did not meet the minimum requirements and is therefore dismissed. It is noteworthy that the recall process is applicable to the governor of a state or the president of Nigeria. It's inapplicable. Sorry, I said applicable. It's inapplicable to the governor of a state or the president of Nigeria. They can only be impeached by 2/3 majority of the members of the House of Assembly or National Assembly. A 2/3 majority in the House of Assembly or in the National Assembly if you intend to recall a. So now resolutions are prayers of a motion agreed by a legislative house. There are 3 types of resolutions: simple, concurrent, and joint resolutions. Now, simple resolutions are usually used to express sentiments of a house or compel a committee to carry out an investigation. Concurrent resolutions are resolutions that are passed by both houses, but do not require the agreement of the president. Joint resolutions are generally passed by houses to give effect to constitutional provisions. Now, in conclusion, it is to the law alone men get justice and liberty, as we crucify the legislative without holding them accountable. we have kissed away. So I'll read it again. It is to the law alone men get justice, and liberty, as we crucify the legislative without holding them accountable, we have kissed away our freedoms. Thank you very much, everyone. And I'll proceed to questions now. Thank you. Where is Lisa?
Okay. Thank you very much.
There was no focus, but I've asked that on it. You can go ahead, John.
Okay. Thank you very much, Edie, for the insightful class on the legislature. I'm sure we have questions. You can put them in the chat box or raise your hands to be on mute. Okay, I can see one question on the chat box. He says, I want to understand the distinctive roles of the Senate and House of Reps.
Talia.
Edie, did you get that?
Talia, I'm talking to you. You're not hearing me.
Okay, he said, I want to understand. Yes, Edie.
Talia, can you hear?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Why can't you hear me?
I can hear you. I want to read the question again.
I was trying to, could you listen to what I was trying to say? I think that these questions are better asked. So the only time it should go to the chat box is when the person has bad network and cannot ask the question. Because it's sometimes I do not get the exact concept. It's not regarding this question, it's just regarding questions generally. So questions should only go to the chat box if the person has bad network or is in a noisy place and cannot talk. I don't think questions should go to the chat box really, because it's hard sometimes to determine. I noticed in last class to determine the exact point from which someone is speaking or making a conversation.
Okay. Peter Ekoma, I've asked you to unmute and ask your question.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, Peter.
Thank you so much for the lecture. I correct me if I'm wrong. I remember from the first lecture we had, you mentioned something like, if the judiciary does not collaborate with the executive, they'll be at loggerheads and things will not work. So my question is this: if they are collaborating, how do they check the executives then? How do they check their excesses? Thank you.
I don't understand. I said that if the judiciary
in the first class we had, there has to be some level of collaboration.
I'm not collaborating. Yes, collaboration, and I'm just following your question, following what you said. Collaboration does not refer. It's not a full context. Does not refer to, how would I put it, to acting hand in hand. They must collaborate. All the arms of government must collaborate. Do you understand? Just like all the levels of government must collaborate. Where there is a problem is when they forget that the interest is Nigeria, and because of specific set out interests or personal set out interests, they alter what the law actually is. That's when there's a problem. But every arm in every working democracy must collaborate. That is inevitable.
Okay, thank you very much. I just wanted
Thank you very much, Peter. Okay, I've heard that.
All right. Chimeze, I've asked you to unmute and ask your question.
All right. Good evening, everyone. So I was the one who sent the question in the chat box. So my question is, I really want to understand what is the distinctive role between the Senate and the House of Rep. Because I was reading something earlier this week, and somebody was making a kind of a suggestion that one of the ways to move Nigeria forward is if we can scrap the House of Rep. Because what is the need of having two legislative chambers when they almost do the same job, and it also increases the cost of governance in the country? So I want to know, is there any distinctive role between the Senate and the House of Reps? Thank you.
You need to understand that one is the upper house, one is the lower house. That's the first distinction. There's always been the argument on a bicameral legislation, and the legislature, which is what Nigeria bicameral means, two houses of legislature. Everybody has proposed a unicameral legislature, with probably the same registrations. Now, of course, everybody is talking of reducing the cost of governance. But the argument really is that if the Senate and the House of Rep functioned as they were supposed to function, you understand why having a dual house or a bicameral legislature is functional and why it makes more sense. But because they are abysmal in their functions, people are saying, okay, you know what, let's just even cut them down. And therein lies the problem. So the lower house is the House of Reps. That's the main distinction. The upper house is the Senate. So most things go to the Senate, and Senate is like a final stamp on most things.
Okay. Thank you, Edie. Chimeze, I believe your question was answered. Okay, it's not here again. So Musa, I've asked you to unmute and ask your question.
Thank you very much, Edie, for a wonderful presentation. Actually, my question goes by the way. The first is regarding the oversight function. You listed it out, but it's not much clear to me. Sorry. And the other question it is that in such a scenario where in the politics that we are playing today, if someone comes up with issue of calling back a representative that is not serving purpose, because I can recall there is one of my House of Assembly here in Kano. The only thing that he comes to play a role, he never sponsor a bill. It is when it comes to adjourning session that they call him to bring into action. So in such a scenario, when someone is having someone like that, trying to call him back, is there any backup that Constitution provides for a person that is willing to make that move?
I don't understand the end of your question. So yes, you can recall.
Okay.
But you're saying that
the second.
That's your second question. I don't understand the end.
Okay, in the sense that you see, it's for someone to make such a move that trying to call a House of Assembly, that you said like you made mention of section 69 and section 1110 that break prohibition for someone to call back his House of Assembly that is not discharging his duty. So in the world of today that a lot of our politicians are playing a dirty game. So in the sense that if you try to make such a move, your life is at stake. So is there any backup that the country provide for a person that is willing to make that move?
Most of the time, recalls are normally handled by organizations or people coming together, a group or a movement. Yeah, but yes, our politics is that bad that you can't have one particular person. And then you were also referring to oversight of the executive. So now, oversight of the executive is not something that I think I can put. There's so many, like look at the budget. It's the Senate, there's the National Assembly that passes it. You understand? Just like in your states, it's the State House of Assemblies that pass it. If they don't pass it, there will be no budget. So that's one of the oversight functions of the executive. The ability on the executive. Well, another oversight function will be the ability to even impeach. It's also an oversight function on the executive. They can officially impeach what they call it, people that are serving in the executive if they
Okay. Okay, Edie, we can't hear you again. Hello, Edie. Okay, it seems his network is bad. Okay, he's back now. Okay, it is trying to join back the call. So I believe Moses, right? Your question was answered. Musa, okay, while we wait for
Hello, I'm back.
to join. Okay.
Can anyone
Dr.
hear me?
John. Yes, Edie, we can hear you now. Okay, Dr. John, I've asked you to unmute and ask your question.
Okay. Good evening. Sorry, the first part of the question actually intended asking has been treated, because I wanted to ask
I'm
what.
sorry, I think you should hold on a bit. I think
Okay.
yeah, I think Edie has gone off again, so it doesn't miss your question.
Okay.
Okay, I think he's back now.
Hello, Edie, can we go ahead?
Yes, you can. I think I'm back.
Okay.
Can you hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Dr. John, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you for that very elaborate presentation, sir.
Thank you
Actually,
very
the
much.
first part of my question has already been treated. I actually was interested in what is the procedure for recalling a legislator that we feel it's not capable enough or it's not representing my people enough. I wanted to know what the procedure is for recalling such a representative at the level of the legislature. Then, secondly, too, we have the legislator carrying out oversight function on the executive. But at the same time, I know in one of our discussions here, we've seen that they also carry out some functions, ideally, that should be the executive. In one of our presentations, it was mentioned that they carry out what we call constituency projects, and constitutionally, those things are not there in the Constitution. So what is the college advice on a situation like this? Do we continue with this norm, or what is the college doing to term?
It seems your network is breaking.
What is the college doing in regards to that? Because constituency project it's an executive function as far as I'm concerned, to the best of my understanding. So why is the legislature carrying out constituency projects when ideally and constitutionally it's not proper? And what is the electoral college advice or position on that? Thank you, sir.
I believe that my position on this conversation has always been, from the beginning of when I even started running for office, I've made it clear that constituency projects are not part of the Constitution, and the college stands and makes that statement publicly all our time on TV and within our cohorts. That it's a bell that we're always ringing. So I feel that we've been more than open about it. The college stands on that, and we feel if we educate more Nigerians, we might just be able to take a stand on it. The college the college can only educate. We're not set out as an activist group. We're not also set out as an antagonist group. So we can only educate and hope that the education we've provided on TV or radio and on Zoom or in classes that we've committed can, maybe pull up quite a conversation that this conversation will be had on a higher level and maybe it will be kicked out of practice.
Okay, thank you, Edie. Dr. John, is your question answered now? Okay.
Yes, very much.
Okay.
Very much.
All right. Okay.
But the first part of it, the process.
Recall. The recall. Were you not in the class? I already explained that. You can go back to the PowerPoint. It's fully there.
Okay, sir.
It's fully there. The PowerPoint was made available to you guys now. It's fully there. It's all there.
Okay. Abayomi, I've asked you and ask your question.
Okay. Good evening, Edie. Can you hear me, sir?
Good evening. I can hear you, sir.
Okay, so my question is, how do we practically, having learned like some of the things that our reps can essentially help us do, how do we practically engage with them? Do we like just walk into their offices? How do we engage with them? Essentially, that's my question. So I have my constituency, I have reps there, but how do I start a conversation with them essentially?
I always tell people that before you even think of starting a conversation, a democracy cannot thrive without or cannot be criticized by someone who's not fully informed. So you first have to fully inform yourself, and then you can always access them. Sometimes they move around, especially during campaigns. But if it's a non-campaign citizen, you can write to the um to the senator, and sometimes when they don't respond to this letter, what people normally do is paste the letter that they've submitted with the acknowledged copy, tag the senator on Twitter or something, and tag what they wanted to talk about. He would pay attention, and at that time, after that time, or somebody will reach out to you. So practically, you choosing to meet them and discuss these things, they're supposed to actually be accessible to you. But if then, as in they are not, then you'd have to just find a route privately.
Okay, Abayomi, I believe his question was answered. Timothy, I've asked you to unmute and ask your question.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you so much for the expository on the subject matter. We are grateful. My question goes thus. I know one of the functions of the legislators is oversight. And I want to ask this question as regards what has happened in Nigeria, it happened in Nigeria 2 years ago, where there was financial misappropriation, recklessness, and all that with the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC. And I'm aware, as at that time, that the committee overseeing NDDC carried out investigations and all that. I think there was even, no, it wasn't a public hearing. There were televised investigations that were done and all that. And the MD of NDDC at the time fainted, and we saw a lot of dramas and all that on the screen. After that whole drama, till today, me personally, I haven't heard anything with regards to that investigation and all that. I haven't seen any report. I don't know if maybe any report is out there. I don't know. I haven't seen any. And the punitive measures and all that haven't been carried out on the suspected people that were involved in the whole wrongdoing. So my question now is, we didn't see any reports, and there was no consequences for all their wrong action. As a private citizen, it looks like the issue has been swept under the carpet. So as a private citizen, what can I do now in my place to maybe bring up the issue again, and a punishment method to the people that carried out the whole stuff? As a private citizen,
you could start.
Okay, or if it's possible for me to sue, to bring in
you can
whole investigation.
You can sue, and you can sue, and most of all, there is the FOI bill, that's freedom of information, which demands they must give you the information. So the smartest thing will be first to request using the FOI on what exactly happened and what stage is that, and then sue the federal government for inaction on that particular matter. The truth is that we citizens always mortgage our responsibilities. We are waiting for, I don't know, somebody else to do the job. One person has to do it. The day one person does it, another person will do it. And once it succeeds, another person will do it. That's the way things work, even anywhere. So you need to be able to do it, raise all these things, cause bring up a conversation. But you guys just want to complain on Twitter when their official channel write some funny words on Facebook. And, that's what we do. So we can't keep mortgaging our responsibilities and expecting Nigeria to become a sane democracy. It's not possible.
Okay. Timothy, I believe your question was answered. Oluwakeji, I've asked you to unmute and ask your question.
All right. Good evening, sir.
Brilliant.
Thank you for the wonderful session. I have a concern and then a question. And the concern is about the anomaly of the legislative officers. If I'm a legislative officer and I tell my constituency member that in this month I have moved a motion or moved the motion for like 10 bills, most of them will come out and say that's not what we need right now, that people are suffering. We need food, we need that, we need different things. So this will make the legislative officer to what act to their request, and then they themselves will have to tag it as constituency projects. I think that's what is happening most time, and then the citizens also needs to be sensitized that this is not their responsibility, but they themselves want to feel their responsibility in return, not to make them feel like they are not working. I think that's the concern I have and my view about that area, but it's not right. And my question is that how is the majority and the minority leader selected? Is it that the party with the more population gets the majority leader from that place, or how is he selected? How are they
I
selected?
believe I explained that clearly, that the majority leader is selected from between the major party in the house, sits down to select and pick him, and he's picked by his people. The minority leader too speaks with the smaller party within the house, and they pick within themselves. As regards your question with constituency projects, of course, it's a continuing conversation. It's not their job, and I think we've done quite a lot in sensitizing that it's not their job. I've repeated this so many times, but till the people know it's not their job, and I think it's also a way people think they can score quick wins, because people tend to think they are working. They use a little money to do something or a little money to do that. But the talk and the conversation around constituency projects is always an ongoing conversation, and I don't think it's ever going to stop till it actually stops.
Okay. Thank you very much, Edie, for that. I believe your question was answered. Buhari, I've asked you to unmute and ask your question.
Good evening, and thanks for this brilliant presentation. Actually, if you can recall, in 2018, there was a senator, people were trying to recall a senator from Kwara State, which was then Senate President, Senator Bukola Saraki. I was the front of those who make the move. We wrote several letters to the INEC at the national headquarters. At the end of the day, what we noticed was that the INEC refused to give us the template in which we can recall Dr. Bukola Saraki. We still went to their office at the state level. They direct us to the headquarters. We still went there. So what I'm asking, my question is that on this issue, how can someone deal with the INEC?
Deal with INEC.
As in how in this process whereby we're trying to recall someone, but the INEC was not giving us the necessary things or process way to recall.
No, but the truth is that INEC has nothing to give you. You didn't read the recalls. This thing, you are the one to give something to INEC, not INEC to give you. And if it's the recalls, wait, did you get the signatures and provide it to INEC?
Yeah, we provide everything.
And INEC refused?
Yes.
No, INEC can't refuse. Are you sure your number was correct?
The number was correct. You can check. The number was correct. It was read on news. Even in Sarah Report, everyone take the news. All our number is correct. But because he was the then Senate President,
Yeah, and if you notice, INEC is under the jurisdiction of the National Assembly. I read it there. Exclusive legislative list. INEC, political parties. They're under INEC. I don't know for what reason that happened, which is not supposed to happen. There have been attempted recalls on different levels, even at Lagos State House of Assembly, which almost pulled through. But we keep looking for, of course, a better and more functional one. I don't know why this thing happened to you, but I think trying to recall a Senate president is quite an uphill task anywhere in the world. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Eddie. Buhari, I believe your question was answered.
Yeah,
So,
thanks.
okay, I've asked you to unmute and ask your question.
Okay, thank you. I don't know. I came in quite late and I didn't follow the beginning of the session. Well, I want to find out in the legislative house, the process or the place of lobbying and activities of lobbyists. Is it something that looks legal? Because I watched a movie about Lyndon Johnson that emerged president after the assassination of John F. He was vice president and emerged president after the assassination of JFK. Please, the activities of in supporting and moving motions for companies that will support companies and business activities. These lobbying activities that come in different forms. Are they things that are normal? Because it goes a long way to say to what extent or to what limit can somebody become a lobbyist and try to sponsor a bill or try to block a bill from getting passed. To what extent do we go? What is the line? Where do we draw the line in lobbying activity? So it's more like two questions. Is lobbying legal in the process of legislative policies? And to what limit do we draw the line in trying to get...
Let me just answer. It's a very simple answer. No, it's not legal in Nigeria. It's legal in the US. It's not legal in Nigeria. If you are caught lobbying, it will be seen as bribery and corruption. So lobbying is not legal in Nigeria. You're watching an American movie, Abi?
Yes.
It's not legal in Nigeria. So yeah, but there's still the art of soft lobbying where of course you talk to your senator to support a particular motion that the people are behind it. You understand? You get people to rally around, some members of your party, that kind of thing. That's soft lobbying. It's allowed in Nigeria, but lobbying where there's exchange of what they call it, goods and services for passing a particular legislation or supporting a particular legislation is totally wrong in Nigeria. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Udi. Ubongo, I believe your question was answered.
Yes, thank you.
I want to ask one question. Is it that there are no girls in this class? So we're always having the conversation that men are always taking the conversation. Men are taking your conversation. We men they're always shouting, we want to get into politics. We want 50-50. We want a strong representation. We don't want 30-something%. We want 50-50. And then this is the opportunity to start to have this kind of conversations, and then no woman is around. Later now we'll hear you want to collect free forms so that you beat people that have spent their hard-earned money on forms in the primaries. I don't understand them. Saying we are around. You're around where? We are around quiet in the class. You're not around. The electoral college is so well structured. You can see the number of women we have participating in the electoral college, which are quite a lot. So what is it? I've just mail questions. It's not progressive. They are taking notes. That's how people take notes and lose the election. No offense, I'm not your opinion, but yeah, the many things you don't understand, Nika. You start with asking a question. What part don't you understand? What part of it don't you understand? This is supposed to be an interactive point. And if you don't ask the questions, somebody said my hand is raised. Charlie, unmute the person that her hand is raised. Olamide Albert. Charlie, are you there?
Yes, Edie. I've asked him to unmute.
Okay, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening,
sorry,
Edie.
Olamide, I've
good
asked
evening.
you to unmute and
We can hear her. We can hear her.
Thank
Charlie.
you. Okay,
So
thank you for the presentation.
thank you very much too.
Okay, you were going to say something?
Yes, I said that we had to call you people out.
Okay, so I asked a question on the... No, I typed my question on the chat box before then. Okay, my question is, if INEC is under the purview of National Assembly, doesn't that create an avenue for compromise for INEC as an independent body, and then makes it difficult for citizens to be able to recall their erring representative? Because from the discussion we've had so far, it looks like it's more difficult for citizens to recall their representative because INEC is part of the bodies that the Senate or the National Assembly oversees. So how do we fix that matter? Because I'm a bit concerned about this particular issue right now.
INEC can only be under one place, and that's the National Assembly. Would you want INEC under the executive? You don't want INEC under the executive.
How do we recall it?
But so that case that he cited with Bukola Saraki is quite a spot in one case. There was the attempted recall of Senator Dilo Melaye, which went normal. The INEC had gone for the referendum, and that went normal. But Dino was not recalled. There's the issue with that woman that said something about youth on drugs in during EndSARS in the Lagos State House of Assembly. She too went on that. At least I'm very concerned with that one. They raised about 5,000 signatures. I remember she started going to our constituency, office, started talking. Anyway, she was able to rally the troops round before they could get all the signatures needed against her. I've seen this happen. So one particular incident happening with Bukola Saraki at the time, I don't think is enough to say that INEC is how would I put it? Is biased in such matters.
Okay, but we haven't really had, I don't know if I'm wrong, but we haven't really had any senator or any representative being recalled and then serving that particular process.
The truth is that the truth here is that Nigerians don't care. Nigerians already don't. It's not an uphill task. Nobody should say it's an uphill task. You went to vote. Was that an uphill task? You should be able to get somebody out. And if you use one person as an example, you get Nigerians don't care about their democracy. Let's not sugarcoat it, or let's not have a conversation like we care about things. We don't care. Even voting, which is the same day. Presidential election is high. By the time you get to Senate, and Abuja that is providing close to 1 million votes for presidency, when they are voting on another paper on the same day, which is Senate and House of Rep, voting drops as low as 260,000 in total, or 400,000 at most in total. How does that happen? That means 600,000 people don't care about who the senator or the House of Rep is. So if they don't care, are they going to care whether they are holding themselves accountable? Are they going to care for a recall? Therein lies the problem. So the system does not frustrate Nigerians. Nigerians created the system, and Nigerians are the ones frustrating the system. That's the truth. Yeah, I don't like when citizens mortgage mortgage what they call it, their responsibilities, and then start blaming somebody else. Who are you blaming? If you didn't want Atiku to emerge in the PDP, why are you not a member of the PDP? And why were you not why didn't you struggle to become a delegate? If you didn't want Tinubu to emerge, the same. If you didn't want Peter Obi to emerge, the same. You can't stand there and start saying this. Nobody is taking your constitutional right from participating. And whether you're in the civil service, you are allowed to participate in a political party. So don't tell me that your system frustrates you. You are frustrating the system, and you are part of the system that has created what exactly exists. And every time I get the opportunity to say this, I always say directly to Nigerians, we are our own problems. Nigerians, and I'll give you an example. Nigerians are so key. Okay, I'll give a remote, simple example. The youth say they can't produce a president, or they don't have the finances to become, to have a president. When Davido wanted to take his car from the port, that money that he gave to charity, you raised 240 million in 24 hours. You don't want to install a president. You are not interested. And that is the truth. You are not interested at all. You guys, you're having issues with fuel, with the subsidy removed. Yet conversations like you, Ledoche's, Judith, is top brass on conversations on social media. Yeah, we are quick to talk about what's that name of that woman on Twitter, that Mommy Z or something. Hey, girls against boys for, I can't cook at 4 a.m. I can't look at the rubbish people are doing. Has any one of you taken time to even look at your constitution? The average Nigerian, and I say this, and whenever I talk to lawyers, I always tell them. I spoke at the law retreat the other day, law lecture, the memorial lecture, and I said clearly, lawyers should stop projecting the image that the constitution belongs to lawyers. It does not. Constitution is the birthright of every Nigerian around. So once in a while, we tend to think, like women now, we want power. How many women are in political parties? How do you want to achieve it? You want to wait till 2026 when they say free forms for women, you go and pick form. Then you want to beat people that have been participating in a political party for more than 8 years. It's not possible now. Come on, wake up. Wake up. Guys, and that's the truth. Youths will just wake up too. They'll go and collect form in 2026 and start running up and down and they say nobody gave us power. Who gives you power? If you do not have a long game plan, probably 11, 12 years to get where you're going, you are not ready for politics. And this is in any country. You can go to the US and try what you're trying. Kanye West tried it when he ran with Trump and Kona. How did that end? He couldn't even reach. He couldn't even. That's somebody that has more than how many million followers on social media, but couldn't even reach 100,000 votes. The topic Nigerians, or the conversation Nigerians always bring up is system is bad. This is this. This is that. What are you doing? Nothing. The moment people came out and said better must go, did the presidency not suspend her? They did now. Why haven't you picked another topic to sit down on? You haven't now. I don't understand. You have power and you don't use it, and then you come back to complain that you don't have power. It is for me is the greatest anomaly I've seen in a democracy. You have power, you don't use it. You have the numbers, you don't use it. Yeah, I agree. They say an Atiku is coming out. Atiku has money. But I'll tell you that Atiku's entire net worth cannot face 100,000 people under 25 putting their money together. He can't face them. He can't face their network, can't face their reach, they can't face their access. If all of them decide to tweet one thing at the same time against Atiku, Twitter will drop. They can't. And none of you think of that. And none of you think is worthy. We don't even have people in, let's say, this generation or in another generation that are worthy of character and poise and want to lead. Instead, the things we are known for on social media is this one knows how to clap back the best. This one knows how to talk down men. This one knows how to talk down women. What arrant rubbish. I'm sorry, but this topic actually gets to the bottom of my bone. I'm very sorry. Back to the questions. But I think we all need a wake-up call once in a while.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Idi, for the buzz boost. I believe we've listened to the truth. Okay, Yusuf, yeah, back to mute and ask your question.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. There is a popular slogan used for the assemblies and the House of Rep that is they are called rubber stamp. How can we stop that slogan from reoccurring? Because what I do here is that because the people that will emerge as the leaders of the Senate, that is the Senate President or the Speaker of the House, are people that are nominated, are supported by the executive. So, and that in the other way around doesn't favor the masses at most. That's my first question. How do we go about changing that narrative? The second question is that I'm from Kwara State, and for the past 5 years, there has been a recurring gbas between an NGO and the state government in collaboration with the state assembly. That is centered around FYB. When that NGO, when they pick up maybe a project or something, they want to inquire about it, they get the bill of quantity to investigate how truly the money earmarked for those projects are they really spent to the way they said they would do it. The state government will say BLFYB is not domesticated in the state. So the question is that must every state assembly domesticate a law that has been passed by the National Assembly before it will work in their state?
First and foremost, no state or nothing in Nigeria is bigger than the Constitution. The Kwara State government has the right to say it is not domesticated. You carry the case to Abuja, they must respond to the Constitution. They must. It's not this thing. You can't enact a law and they'll say no, it's not their law. Carry it to Abuja. Say if it's in Kwara State, you have that issue. Secondly, do you know your senator?
Yes.
Do you know his name? Do you know your House of Rep?
I know them.
You know your State House of Assembly?
Yes.
Start with conversations with them. That's how you start. Everybody likes to say rubber stamp. They are rubber stamp because we don't care.
Okay.
If you care, they will start doing the things that are necessary to be done. They are only rubber stamp because nobody is talking. Nobody is concerned. Imagine if they dragged your senator like they dragged the Beta Edu. You will be running up and down like a headless chicken. But nobody's ready to do any of that. We feel we're too big or we're too ahead of time. So therein lies your problem.
Okay. Thanks for the clarifications.
Thank you very much, sir. So I don't know where Nika is asking whether I can recommend books. There are a few books on. First, read the Constitution. We've given you that one, Nika. Read the Constitution. When you've read the Constitution, come back. I know many parts of the Constitution might look wild. At least start with chapter 2. One has fundamental rights. By the time you read that one, you'll be more interested in things that happen. Then you can pick the Electoral Act. Pick the Electoral Act, and you still do that on your way in this class. You do that on your way in this class, and we'll find a way to So you are asking Aliu, you're asking for a recording of the class. Our class, so I don't know. We give you information. I don't think you guys use the information that much. So the YouTube link is on the group. The YouTube for the electoral college is there. All our classes are streamed there. This class is going to be streamed there. One moment you finish the class, it'll be streamed there. You can watch it off the YouTube. Do you understand? So the college's YouTube handle is public information and it's there. So you can always find that there. Charlie, I've brought you back.
Thank you very much, Edie. So thank you, everyone. I believe our questions were all answered. Yes. Okay, I can't see any more hands raised. So thank you very much, Edie, for that great and insightful class. At least we learned a lot. Okay, we have one hand raised.
There's a raised hand.
Okay, Joseph, I've asked you to unmute.
All right, thank you so much, Edie. Thank you so much for this opportunity to be in this class also. All right, so my question is, can the House of Representatives oppose a decision taken by the House of Senate, looking at the hierarchy that comes with these two houses?
Yes, they can. Yes, they can. Yes, they can.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you, sir.
No problem, sir.
Thank you very much, Edie. All right. Thank you all for joining in class this evening. So the attendance is 4. Yes. So I will like to say, party chairpersons, please make sure your
Do they have party chairpersons yet? They don't yet have party chairpersons. We'll still, when they have, we'll not hold them by attendance.
Okay, so it's very important you come into class and register your name and your party. I believe everyone has joined a party. So register your name and your party. It's very important for attendance. So thank you everyone for coming into class this evening. See you all tomorrow by 5 p.m. and don't miss class. Thank you very much. Thank you, Edie.